This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
23rd Annual All...
I'm Bob Joseph. Buckle up. Here it is, your radio reality program. Binghamton Now for Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Phone lines are open. You are welcome to talk about the issues. Simply call 607-772-1290. WNBF. And we are on the air until noon today, and the Stick to the Issues crowd will be delighted as we stick to the issues that are important to you, Binghamton and beyond, right here at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online at WNBF.com, and always available on the free WNBF app. The app is where it's at, man. Make sure you have the app on your device. And that way you can be connected with us virtually anywhere you go. The State of the Union. One guy says it's failing, while his opponent says there's hope. That's the essence of the front page story today. New York Times print edition. A news analysis by Peter Baker. Trump's America is a grim place. A nation awash in marauding immigrants stealing American jobs and eating American cats and dogs. A country devastated economically, humiliated internationally, and perched on the cliff's edge of an apocalyptic World War III. That's the first paragraph. On the other hand, Kamala Harris's America is a weary but hopeful place, a nation fed up with the chaos of the Trump years and sick of all the drama and divisiveness. A country embarrassed by a crooked, stuck in the past former president facing prison time and eager for a new generation of leadership. So this news analysis continues. These two visions of America on display during the first and possibly only presidential debate between Harris and Trump encapsulated the gambles that each candidate is taking in this hotly contested campaign. Trump betting on anger, Harris on exhaustion. Trump is trying to repackage and resell his American carnage theme 8 years later, while Harris is appealing to those ready to leave that in the past. I remember his inauguration address, American carnage. American carnage. I thought, well, we're in for a real hopeful 4 years if he's going to include the phrase American carnage on his first day in office. So anyway, that's basically how the campaign shapes up. Either you think the country is a smoldering wreck almost beyond repair, or you think the country actually is going to be okay after all. I think the country is going to be okay after all, but I guess not everyone is so optimistic. It's 9:14 here at WNBF and WNBF.com. As we look back, American carnage. Well, it was a tough speech. I don't know who wrote his American carnage speech, but I I found it to be too depressing. It sounded like something Jimmy Carter might have said sitting next to a fireplace in his cardigan. Let's take a look at WNBF.com. Take a little gander at things closer to home. In Kirkwood, some people are not happy about yet another solar project for Broome County. This one on the site of a dairy farm. Some of the people who live near the solar farm site are urging Kirkwood officials to reject the plan. A unit of Boston-based Blue Wave Solar wants to build a 2.8 megawatt facility between Colesville Road and Stanley Hollow Creek. The project would be built on part of a 94-acre parcel on a dairy farm owned by the Bartleson family. The developers talked about their solar farm at the Kirkwood Planning Board meeting the other night. Some nearby residents are concerned the facility could adversely affect property values. They also think they don't want to look at it because it's out in the middle of a rural area where they enjoy the existing scenery as opposed to the possibility of solar panels. Planning Board is expected to discuss that project at its October meeting. Meanwhile, in other solar farm news, big solar farm is still being built high atop the mountain off Glenwood Road. There are actually two solar farms that are under construction in the town of Dickinson off Glenwood Road. The one near Glenwood Cemetery appears to be fairly close to completion. I stopped by there recently, and there were still workers busy, but a lot of the solar panels now have been installed. Take a look at the pictures. Magnificent view. One of the pictures that I managed to get shows the some of the solar panels in the foreground, and then in the background you can see a wonderful view of Johnson City, even Westover. You can see Gowdy Station, you can see the UHS main tower, you can see the Victory Lofts Apartments, the former Endicott Johnson building. And if you look over on the left side of the picture, you can see the Binghamton University Health Sciences campus. Nice view. And then some big store on Gannett Drive. And you can see more about the latest on some of the area's solar farms being built. Of course, more are being constructed, more are being planned. Some places have adopted moratoriums on solar farm projects. So if you want to talk about the future of solar farms or maybe more wind installations similar to what recently was constructed in eastern Broome County, you can give us a call. Obviously, we need the energy. Before long, we'll be completely out of oil and natural gas. At some point, the oil and natural gas will run out, so we'll need other energy generation sources. Let's see, what else here? We could talk about those things later. Don't want to disturb you too early in your morning. Let's take a phone call. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning there, Bob. Dave from Vestal.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning. I'm listening to what you were saying there. It's pretty interesting, but Bob, I need to change the topic here, just real quick. Yesterday when I called in and I was talking about the debate, and I was just half kiddingly saying Obama must have been in her ear when I said that. I was just kidding, Bob. But then I started to do some reading, and, I ran across this Kip Shillam. Her name is this lady, Shillam. She's a Emmy-winning content creator and a communications media master. And I'm looking, and there's these Nova H1 audio earrings, Bob. They are radio receivers. They're Bluetooth earpieces. And, I looked at them real close. I brought them up. You can Google them. Nova H1 audio earrings. And I looked at them. I zoomed in, Bob. And then I brought up a picture of Kamala Harris debate night and zoomed in on her ears. Bob, they are exact same earrings with a pearl in them. I'm not kidding you. You look it up yourself. I was shocked. Radio receivers in her ear. And I was just kidding. And I'm not big on
I can't say what that is on the air, but it's so far-fetched as to be beyond the pale. But I'm not surprised that somebody would post that on the internet. It's, of course, wrong. It's false. But
how do you know?
Because they've already debunked it. It says far-right figures on social media spread baseless claims suggesting Kamala Harris used audio earrings to gain an upper hand in her debate against former President Donald Trump, though the unbacked claims don't consider the differences between the earrings she wore on debate night and the audio earrings she's been accused of wearing. So you take a look. It says far-right media personality. I won't mention her name. I don't. It's somebody different than you mentioned. I'm not going to mention this one person's name. She doesn't deserve more publicity. She's notorious as it is. She's been one of the people pushing the fake claim on Twitter after the debate. They're using side-by-side photos, and it's just, talking about the Nova H1 audio earrings, which feature wireless earphones embedded in freshwater pearl earwings, according to the developer's website. So it's all a crock. It says Trump senior advisor Jason Miller retweeted an article in which someone said the resemblance between their audio earrings and Kamala Harris's earrings is striking. Striking. She wasn't using. Come on. If anything, that would simply confuse her. She was so calm and collected. If somebody was trying to pipe information into her ear during a live TV debate, she would have come across as dazed and confused. She would have looked something like the guy who had been the presumptive Democratic candidate in the June debate. No, I mean, if people think about it, she won the debate fair and square. This fake news about audio earrings, I mean, it's intriguing, but it's not true. Not true. Sorry.
I know you gave your best effort.
Next thing you know, they're going to have a video, and thanks to AI, this is possible. They'll have a video of her eating a dog and a cat.
Our eyes don't lie, Bob. Do you believe your own eyes?
No, I don't. Not in this AI era. No, I don't believe my own eyes. AI now can manipulate still and video images. You know it. I know it. You can't believe your eyes anymore. If I was there, I could see with my own eyes. But this is a crock. This is a fallacy. Unless you have proof.
Okay, well, just bring up a picture of her at the debate and zoom in on her ears.
I'm looking at it. It's an earring.
Right. But what do they look like? Have you brought up the Nova H1? Have you and compared? I bet you haven't.
There's a similarity. They're not identical. I mean, come on, man. Trump lost fair and square. Now he's making threats not to have another debate because he was trounced by a former prosecutor. He's beside himself. He didn't think that Kamala Harris had a chance of defeating him, and yet she defeated him in a way so stunning that he can't get over it. He's probably having a Big Mac right now.
3-on-1. He held his own.
Oh, 3-on-1. Enough of that. I am so tired every time he loses a debate that he thinks it's because it's rigged and because the questioners, in this case from ABC News, were out to get him. What a crock. What a crock. And by the way, if that's true, then he may as well concede the race right now, because if he can't take on two journalists from ABC News Channel and Kamala Harris, he's not fit. He's not fit for office. If he's going to start whining and thinking that people like David Muir, a punk from Syracuse, who I believe went to Ithaca College, you're telling me that Donald Trump, the almighty debater, can't handle David Muir? And you're telling me he deserves to be the most powerful person on the planet when he can't handle two talented, to be sure, journalists? Come on, man. He had better up his game, and he'd better come up with a better excuse than the ABC moderators were ganging up on him with Kamala Harris. Nobody's going to buy that.
But is he related to the ghost and Mrs. Muir? No?
What?
Is he related to the ghost and Mrs. Muir?
Let me look up to find out. I didn't want to have to look up. Oh, David Muir. And by the way, David Muir is truly an American institution, because he hosts the ABC World News Tonight News. So he was born in Syracuse, November 8th, 1973. His parents were, let's see. Oh, he was born into a Catholic family in Syracuse, raised on Onondaga Hill. He has one older sibling, two step-siblings, some nieces and nephews. I'm trying to see about his parents. Doesn't mention his parents, at least not that I see here. So I have no clue who his mom and dad were, but I'm sure they were upstanding citizens.
Yeah, they might have been, but another thing that.
And by the way, again, higher education, Ithaca College.
Yeah.
So, Ithaca College, that makes him a good guy.
No, it makes him a big liberal. Is what it makes him. Yeah,
Ithaca College doesn't make him a big liberal. It means he's a smart guy. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism in May 1995. See, every time somebody from upstate New York becomes a success, the whiners and the complainers try to trash him. David Muir is an American success story.
Yeah, a degree in liberalism. I'm sure he got one of those too.
Okay, well, if Donald Trump can't take a question from David Muir, then he's not capable of being the most powerful person on the planet. He can't deal with America's enemies. If he can't deal with two journalists from ABC News Channel asking him questions and occasionally fact-checking him, he may as well announce that he's going to suspend his campaign instead of having all his supporters whine that everybody ganged up on him. Nobody ganged up on him. 929, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, waiter. I'll have a side of Fido, and as the main appetizer, I'll have some Snowball, please.
Name, please?
What's that?
Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
DJ from Binghamton. You guys know me. DJ from Binghamton. I love that you said that, Bob. That was hilarious. They're going to have a video of her eating dog and cat. I know.
Somebody probably already has done it thanks to AI. Again, sadly, because of AI, we can no longer believe our eyes. Any image, any still image, or any video now can be manipulated.
Of course. We're in the age of technology. This is 2024. You can do. I can have Bob Joseph saying whatever, and you can have me if you are into that, if you know how to do it. But anyway, things in her ear, I don't know. If she practiced, could she do well? So when I put things,
She
in my
did
ear,
well. No, the only reason she did so well is she's very intelligent. She's a
Yes.
former prosecutor.
I agree.
And she's not a person who just whines. She can actually come up with sentences. She can she can finish a sentence in English, unlike her opponent. I mean, we saw how he performed. He had a bad night. Let's not say he's a loser. We'll just say he had a bad night. That's why there should be another debate.
Well, think back, everybody listening, to the first, Bob, just let me say this. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with Jesse or you. I'm just talking. So let's just talk. The first time you ever put anything in your ear, whether it was an earbud, whether it was a hearing aid, it takes practice. So if you put something in your ear and DJ's talking to you, Bob, say this, it would take practice. They have days and days of practice. This is not about whether or not she did or didn't do it. I'm just saying, my lead guitarist always used to say, "Prac makes perf." Prac makes.
And by
perf.
the way, the other important thing to note is this was her first ever presidential debate. Trump has been through a bunch. Wasn't this Trump's 7th presidential debate?
Yeah.
He should be able to do these things in his sleep. The only person who should have been nervous or a little shaky for the debate on Tuesday night on ABC should have been Kamala Harris. And it was just the opposite. She came across as though she had been doing these debates for the last 30 years.
That's what I said on Facebook. She's a seasoned prosecutor. But she did, when you come out to hot lights, she practiced under hot lights, first of all, they said. And the hot lights, remember Marco, what did the kids say Marco? Rubio. Remember Marco Rubio? Marco Polo, but Marco Rubio. He took a bottle of water and they all made fun of him. She gulped and her mouth was dry and she went like that. And, but so did he. But yeah, I said she did good. You said she did great. But, you say tomato, I'll say tomato. So what else can we talk about, Bob, since it's 9:31 and I'm a half hour at work here? What's going on, brother?
Nothing. I'm just trying to get another debate scheduled. I want, by the end of the day, for both Trump and Harris to agree to a new debate, and I don't care what channel it's on. I don't care. Put it on Newsmax. I don't care. MSNBC. I don't care. Put it on the Cartoon Network.
What are they talking about right now? What's the possibility?
Who knows? Who knows? The loser from Tuesday night has only suggested he doesn't want to do it anymore because he fears that he would do even worse. I don't think he could possibly do worse. If anything, if he wants to salvage his campaign, he really ought to consider another debate and set it up with John Hannity and Fox. Make the moderators this way. Hannity and Tucker Carlson should be the moderators. And you know what? Initially, the Harris campaign would say, oh, that would be unfair, and they'd be ganging up on her. And then after about 2 days, they'd say, yeah, sure, I'm willing for Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Donald Trump to gang up on me during the debate. I have nothing to fear because I can answer all the questions.
Right. Well, what I've been saying is it's going to boil down to the Electoral College. When the inventor of the Internet first NBC announced that he won, and then Gore beat Bush, and then he did.
Well, then here's the problem. If we, for whatever reason, have another debacle like the year, what was it, 2000, with Bush and Gore, and it goes to the Supreme Court, then we know how they're going to rig it. I mean, that's how the election could be rigged. If it gets to the point where it finally has to be rigged by the Supreme Court, that is indeed how Donald Trump could easily slide into a second term. Because we know the Supreme Court, regardless of the facts, is likely to side with Donald Trump. They love him. Most of the people on the Supreme Court love this guy.
What it's going to boil down to is not the popular vote, because now
I know. And see, that's the problem. This country, as great as it is, has allowed this country has allowed losers to become president. And I know that's the system we have. We have to, and I've used this analogy before, it'd be like if in a baseball game, the Boston Red Sox score 8 runs and the Yankees score 7, and then somebody, because of some arcane rule, says, yeah, well, the Red Sox did get one more run than the Bronx Bombers, but still, because of these arcane rules, we declare the Yankees are winners. So go back to Fenway, you kiddos, and cry in your beer.
That happened to Childs with the gymnastics. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
I know. I'm saying it's one thing in sports, but it's a terrible thing for the United States of America to be giving the job of most powerful person on the planet to a loser. We've done it before, and who knows, we might do it again. And I think it's a darn shame. It's a darn shame that 2 great candidates, they play and fight their hearts out for this coveted title of most powerful person in the world. And then, after all the numbers are tallied up, sometimes, because of the way our system is set up, the loser gets the prize. It's just a sad thing. I mean, we accept it because we're Americans. We accept the Electoral College. We accept, on occasion, that the loser will ultimately be declared the victor.
Right, and I just want to say, folks, it's silly season. Don't get upset. Don't get mad. Jesus is Lord. He's got it all under control.
All right. Thanks for your call. It's 9:36 from News Radio WNBF, 607-772-1290. Wouldn't it be great? I know it's never going to happen in my lifetime, but wouldn't it be great if they would hold just one presidential election, just one, just as a test to see how we like it? Maybe in 2028, just a test, and say, this time only, we're not going to permanently abandon the Electoral College system, but just for 2028, just as a test, just for kicks, we will award the presidency to the person who actually gets the most votes. Just for fun. Just see how people like it. We will actually let the winner serve as president of the United States. It's 9:37. Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now on WNBF. It's 9:40 at WNBF. As the calls continue to flow into our Master Control Center. Larry in Kirkwood, you're on the air.
Bob Joseph, I love you, but you just threw out a load of BS, and I am going to call you on it, dude. The 2000 race was won by George Bush, and the Supreme Court did not hand him the win. That was what he won. For heaven's sake, what is wrong with you?
I accepted the Supreme Court ruling.
The count that George Bush won was true.
Well, we'll just say, without relitigating the 2000 race, we'll just say mistakes were made, and hopefully we learned from them, although it appears we haven't. But I do accept the Supreme Court's decision, and I was certainly impressed by George Bush's performance.
Yeah, well, he won that fair and square.
Good for him. Good, yeah. Thanks to the Supremes. Yeah, the Supreme Court. Yeah. So someday when I have time, we'll spend 3 hours revisiting the 2000 presidential election debacle. Maybe we could get Al Gore and George W. Bush on the program to talk just like gentlemen about what happened.
Well, actually, I think this is kind of sad because of George Bush's throwing his blood in with Kamala Harris here. I mean,
he what?
Can't believe
what happened to George Bush?
He's throwing his lot in with Kamala.
Oh, okay. He's supporting her now?
You haven't heard that?
No, I missed that. I heard Richard Cheney, the vice president who shot his friend on a hunting trip, endorsed her, and Liz Cheney, but I didn't hear about George W. Bush.
Well, that's what I've heard.
All right. Well, I'm impressed. I appreciate your call. Thank you. Well, hey, these things happen. George W. Bush. I had the honor and privilege to meet George W. Bush and his wife Laura when they were here in Binghamton in March of 2020. So actually had a chance. Didn't really say much to Laura Bush, except just shake hands with her, and I probably said pleased to meet you. I think that was the extent of the exchange with Laura Bush here in downtown Binghamton. But George W. Bush, I was able to ask 2 or 3 questions during a news conference. So, of course I like George W. Bush. I didn't realize that he's supporting Kamala Harris. 9:43, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. This is Tom from Susquehanna.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. You know what? I'd like to talk to you off the air after this here if you have time. If you don't, you don't. It's nothing. It's just a personal matter. But listen, do you want New York, Chicago, and all the big cities to run the election? Do you want them to win?
No, absolutely not.
Well, then why are you against the Electoral College? That's why you have the Electoral College.
I know why it exists. I know. But I'm still disappointed every time the presidency goes to a loser. Call me old-fashioned. No, I understand. Trust me, I went to school, so I understand why the Electoral College was created. It just seems kind of sad that someone who loses the election wins the presidency. But I understand why they did it. I just think it's wrong.
Who lost?
Hey, look, I don't have the numbers. I don't know the entire history. I'm just saying we need to have a system. They just ought to announce, even now, at this late date, September 12th, they ought to announce that whoever gets the most popular votes, even if it's one more vote than the other person, whoever gets the most popular votes will be the president January 20th. Why? What's wrong with that?
Then go to Venezuela.
I don't want to go to Venezuela. I want to stay in America. I'm an American. I was born 2 miles from here. I ain't going anywhere. I'm a patriotic American. I just want the country to be led by winners, not losers.
Bob, can I finish a sentence? All right? Can I finish a sentence? Now it's going to be silence. If you don't you understand the most popular people? You go to New York City. There's more people on the block of my apartment down there than there are in the whole town of Susquehanna. I mean, do you see that? But that doesn't mean anything because you still need food. You still need people to run it. People enjoy the city. Why, I don't know. Now, I'm not talking from somebody who lived up here all my life. I lived in the city. And believe me, I have seen the opinions of some of these people in the city. And you have to have an electoral college. Now, who was the guy that lost because of the Supremes?
Bush. I mean, Gore.
Gore.
I'm sorry. Gore lost. But to Gore's credit, he accepted the decision of the court. I accept the decision.
Bob, Gore is some guy who's flying around in a private jet.
Oh, so what?
That we have too much admission.
Wait a second. You're going to condemn someone in America for hypocrisy? If hypocrisy was a crime, our jails would be filled with about 200 million Americans.
Yes, when you're the vice president of the United States, I condemn you for hypocrisy. You know that?
So anyway, let's talk about this election. How about,
I'm like you. I want to have voting on one day.
Right.
But now I never voted by mail in my whole life.
Until now.
Even when I was overseas.
Until now.
I never voted. I wasn't that interested in politics. Now I put in for a mail-in ballot. I'm waiting for it. What do I hear when I turn on the news this morning? The post office says there might be problems with mail-in votes.
Oh, come on, man. That's not going to happen.
I swear to God, Bobby, it was on the crawl space.
I don't doubt that somebody said it, but there's not going to be a problem. Say what you want about the Postal Service. Our U.S. Postal Service is a proud institution and will have no problem delivering all of the mail-in ballots on time.
I hope so.
It'll be fine. It'll be so. Look, hang on. Now, during the break, you and I are going to have a quick opportunity to talk off the air.
Okay, good. Thank you, Bobby.
All right. It's 948 WNBF. This is the station where we talk about the issues. You know, do you like the idea that in America, the loser can become president thanks to the Electoral College? I mean, it's our system. Hey, I respect the system. I don't think it looks good to people in other countries. I mean, in Venezuela or North Korea or Russia, if they routinely allowed the person who is the number 2 vote getter to become president, we would think there is something wrong with the system. 607-772-1290. Thursday morning at WNBF. Now let's take some more calls, shall we? Yes, we shall. Hi, WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hi, WNBF. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Beverly from town of Dickinson.
Hello. Hi, turn down your radio, please.
Alexa, turn down. Stay down now. Yeah, she's answering me.
All right.
She heard me.
Yeah, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I watched this debate the other night, and it was kind of interesting. But one thing I noticed that he could hear what she was saying. Now, I thought that the microphones were supposed to be silent, but apparently she could hear what he was saying, and he could hear what she was saying. So that was supposed to be a silent thing, where they were separated, and one couldn't hear what the other one was saying. But
well, whatever way it was going, I mean, it worked. Wasn't perfect, but I thought overall they did a good job. I thought the moderators did well. I thought the candidates did the best they could.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, because the people, Trump has 50% on his side, and she has 50% on her side. So actually, it's just a tie.
Well, true. But, I will say about Donald Trump, I know he's doing the best he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's nothing to say he's not trying. If he could do better, that's why he should have another debate. Maybe he'll do better if there's another debate, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing another debate, to be honest with you.
I know. I'll tell you what.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It'll be fun. And what the heck? Why don't they have a debate every Sunday night? Cancel 60 Minutes, because I'm sick and tired of their tick-tock. It's driving me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It's driving me insane. Get rid of the stopwatch. That's so 20th century. Get rid of that. Clean house. Hire a few real young correspondents. Maybe, I don't know, some young whippersnappers from 12 News or News 34 or something. Get some fresh blood in there. Get some people in under the age of 80.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, but I only say that to be constructive. I appreciate your call.
Okay.
Thanks. It's 9:54 at WNBF. Obviously, 60 Minutes is canceling my segment. It's like, Bob, we were all set for our season premiere to give you spotlight, what it must be like to be hosting a 3-hour weekly or weekday talk show in Binghamton. But We've canceled that segment so we can show another one of those bizarro things about cars that fly. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Yeah, Paul, what's up?
I'll be brief. Our United States is like a corporation. Do you want the woman that worked at McDonald's to run it, or the guy, the magnate from Mar-a-Lago to run it? I mean, he's got the business experience. I don't know how much experience she got.
Well, how many bankruptcies has she declared?
Hey, he's not bankrupt now.
Yeah, but he's been convicted of 34 felonies. How many felonies? I don't even think she has a traffic ticket to her record.
Well, how do you think they'll end up, those 34 felonies? They'll be gone.
Well, they'll be gone if he gets reelected. He'll be able to pardon himself. And Don Jr. and Ivanka and Melanie, he could pardon the entire family and all sorts of hangers-on, contributors. He already said he's going to apparently pardon the people from January 6th. So there could be millions of pardons coming out starting January 20th.
It's a corporation. You can hear me. I know you can. You want a businessman to run United States. You don't want to fly by night.
I want someone who can give me a Big Mac and fries and not screw up the order. And unfortunately, I think there's only one candidate capable of doing that.
Mac and fries if he wins.
Thanks, Paul. It's 9:56. I want someone who can handle the pressure of operating a drive-through, not someone who crumbles when David Muir asks a simple question. It's Bob Joseph, WNBF. Let's talk about what's going on Saturday here in downtown Binghamton. Joining us now in our delightful studios, Donnie Wilkins. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, Bob, I just want to say you look better in person. I never saw you. I've always talked to you on the phone. But
that's right.
You're a good-looking young man.
Oh, you're too kind. Exactly. That's the way it's done. That's the way it's done. If you want to be invited back, yep. That's the best way.
What kind of donuts do you like next year?
That's what some people do. They try to ply me with donuts, and it's like, at first blush, I say, oh, you shouldn't have, and then I grab 2 or 3, and it's like, but it's okay. Yep. So anyway, thanks for coming in. It's time again for Blues on the Bridge in downtown Binghamton. It's coming up this Saturday. Sunny skies are in the forecast with temperatures probably in the low 80s. It sounds like a pretty good day for a lot of music here in Binghamton.
We have to pay off the weather people for that weather. That's our major expense, is paying the weathermen for the good weather.
This has now become a tradition. This has gone on for more than 2 decades. It's quite a story how it got started. Tell me actually a little background how the first Blues on the Bridge was planned, and as you told me just before we began the segment, the one that was supposed to be the first Blues on the Bridge in 2001 didn't occur because it was scheduled just days after the 9/11 tragedy.
Oh yeah, we had put the gas in the car. We had everything ready to go. Everything was set. We had the sound company. We had promotion. We had everything going. And then 9/11 happened, and we just couldn't go on. And what scared me is we had so much money dropped into the first show, we weren't sure we were going to be able to pull off the second one. And Tom Martinos, who's my partner, stepped in and saved the day. He is Mr. Blues on the Bridge. He's the guy that makes it all happen. He is the straw that stirs the drink for Blues on the Bridge.
So going back to 2001, did you ever think that this thing would catch on and effectively become a Binghamton tradition?
I used to do a lot of running, and I used to run over the South Washington Street Bridge. And every time I went there, especially after they repaired it and turned it into a beautiful bridge, I thought they should do some sort of event here. And then my mind kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and I really love the blues, and I love the music scene here in Binghamton. And so that's how it happened. And I'm surprised, and Tom is surprised how big it became. We had people, the first year we did it on the bridge, they were down in their little canoes in the river. Everybody dancing. Was kind of dry that year. And it was just so great, and everybody had so much fun, and the word of mouth made it take off. So the year after that, it was huge. Then we got so big that the liability insurance company said, we can't put 3,000 people on this bridge anymore. You need to move. And of course, because of the flood on 2011, they weren't sure it was going to be stable enough. So for that year, we moved it over to the Memorial Bridge, and it turned out to be even better. It's like a natural amphitheater. It's one of the most beautiful spots in Binghamton. I think the location is why the event is so popular.
This is an event that's free. There's no charge for it.
Nope.
And you're going to have, it appears, based on the lineup that's online, nearly a dozen acts that'll be performing over a period of nearly 10 hours.
Yep. And the money that we raise, the Tommy raises, through getting advertising and looking for vendors, pays for the whole thing. It's just amazing. We get some help from the Binghamton Chamber of Commerce as far as promoting, which we really appreciate. And I really appreciate also that the city of Binghamton, City Hall, and the mayor and his staff has really gone out to help promote the music scene here in Binghamton. So,
well, it's become a great thing. And I just got so much enjoyment out of being there last year, and I was thinking, this is something so special. This is one of the things that makes the greater Binghamton area just a great place to live and work.
I'm hoping, well, Tommy and I are getting along in age. I'm hoping some young bucks will pick it up and keep it going, and hopefully 50 years from now we'll still have blues on the bridge. If there's still blues music. The way music is going now, I don't know.
There'll still be blues music.
Yeah.
But as we know, music, as is every other human endeavor, it's always evolving.
Always evolving, yeah.
But we'll still always have some basic categories. New things will inevitably emerge, but some of the things that are popular now and things that have been popular for, say, the last 25 or 50 or 100 years are still going to be part of the music scene.
You'll be listening to something in the car, some music, you go, what is that crap? And then you hear it again and again, and by the end of the week, you're liking it. You're kind of digging on it.
Well, sometimes, and that's in my all the years in radio, and I started out on an Endicott station when top 40 radio with all the hits all the time, and playing lots of songs that were typically 2.5 or 3 minutes in length, radio friendly, and very tightly produced records. And for some of those songs, you'd say the first time you heard it, oh, that's going to be a hit, and you can automatically say, oh, I like that. But it's true, for some songs, they were not instantly, they didn't feel like you could really enjoy it until multiple plays, and then you say, oh, I see what they did there. They did something that was, in some cases, a little risky, a little outside the envelope, and it's artists like that ultimately help to set the direction of music.
Be honest with me. When you were doing radio back then, did you ever put on a long record so you could go take care of some business and then come back like maybe 15 minutes later?
I did. Even here at WNBF, although we were not playing, it was not a top 40 format. It was called adult contemporary. But we had, in our previous studio at Center Plaza, I'm looking back here, off to the left, we had music on cart. We played some songs still on vinyl, but we had, I think, 6 or 7, maybe 8 carts of longer songs, including, say, MacArthur Park by Richard Harris, or Eric Carmen, All By Myself. Some of these songs that were 5, 6, 7 minutes long, and yes, sometimes you would plug one of those in.
Another good one was Can't You Hear Me Knocking? That jam goes on for like half an hour.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll tell you the other thing. When I was up at that station, I won't give the call letters because that would only confuse people, but they called themselves the Big E for some reason. And their transmitter was on Pierce Hill and Vestal. And during the summer, I did a live show up at the transmitter shack because they needed to have transmitter readings taken every couple of hours or whatever. And so my show during the summer was from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., and then the station signed off. So on more than one occasion, at about 12:42:30, people would hear Iron Butterfly, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
That's another good one.
Yeah, and that way I could take care of all the paperwork and get the music, the records, and carts all back where they were. And then I could sign off the transmitter and scamper out at exactly 1 second past 1 a.m. So yes, long records can sometimes be beneficial to radio people.
The dark underbelly of broadcasting.
Yes,
Yep.
It's twisted and
So
fun.
what we got going Saturday, to get back on subject, is we're starting at 12 o'clock with Rob Perez, and then we're going till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, until the tradition of the police coming to us and telling us to stop it.
Do they actually have the police there, like looking at their watch and saying, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Oh, and by the way, it's over till next year.
We have police all over the place. We have the sheriff's department down there. We have people looking out for everybody down there. Safety is a big concern for us.
For people who haven't been to Blues on the Bridge before, let's talk a little bit about logistics. So it's right there at Riverside Drive and Water Street at the South Washington Street Bridge. Some people who haven't been to the event say, well, what's the best way to handle parking?
If you're coming from Scranton or Elmira or Syracuse, pick that Binghamton. What's the exit 4? I forgot the name of the exit.
Yeah, exit 4S.
And it'll take you right to the backstage.
That's right.
Of Blues on the Bridge on Riverside Drive. You can park on the traffic circle. We have permission for that right there in the roundabout. There's also a parking garage just down the road, less than 500 yards. There's also parking on the other side of the bridge. You walk across the bridge from the south side. There's parking on the west side. If you are handicapped, please pull up to the back of the stage from Washington Ave. We will get you to where you need to go. We'll show you where to park your car. We will take care of your car if you need to. We got people to do that. We want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to enjoy themselves. We have the Satanic Beer Garden again. Some people get a little riled up over that. Every city in upstate New York has a beer garden during their festivals. We're all adults. We all behave ourselves. So everything's going to be beautiful that day. It's going to be a great party.
And, be sure to bring a chair.
Bring a chair? You can't bring the coolers.
No coolers.
No coolers. All smoking and open container laws are in effect. I have to say that.
All right.
Yeah.
So why don't you say it one more time in case people were distracted while driving about coolers and smoking?
No coolers. All smoking laws are in effect. And I suggest if you're smoking the wacky weed, which is legal in New York State, look around you and be aware of the kids. I have a real problem with that. So just be aware of the people that would be offended by that.
Well, show
respect.
Respect and consideration.
Yep.
That's my theory about life in general. Try to be considerate of those around you and, be polite. I mean, the whole point is for thousands of people to gather, people of all ages from all backgrounds, to be able to gather for several hours on a September afternoon in Binghamton and just have fun.
Well, the world is changing and everybody's trying to get their bearings, including myself. Let's make sure we have a good time there at Blues on the Bridge and respect one another.
Absolutely. Yep. Donnie Wilkins, thanks for coming in. Look forward to chatting.
Good to meet you in person, Bob. Thank you.
All right. Next year, bring donuts. If you bring donuts, you get an extra 5 minutes.
All right, I remember that.
Make a note. It's 10:23. 10:23. News Radio, WNBF. We'll be taking some phone calls at 607-772-1290 if you'd like to talk on Binghamton Now. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Chris from Endicott.
Hey, Chris, what's up?
In my grubby little paws, I have this little book called Bill Parker's WNBF Radio 1290 cookbook.
It's a beautiful compendium of recipes and black and white photos of some of Binghamton's favorite radio people.
It is. It actually has the John Hancocks of John Leslie, Bill Parker, Tony Russell. As I'm scrolling through it, it shows
Bill Flynn, Don Daniels, Dave Freeman, Bill Berg.
Correct, sir. But the thing of it is I also have Bernard Fiani. The only thing I don't have is I don't have yours or Rogers in this book.
Really? So you have signatures of all the featured personalities except for my signature and Roger's signature.
Correct, sir. I even have Bob Huckabones.
Wow. Bob Huckabones. So you have almost a dozen signatures, but sadly 2 are missing.
Yes, I have Bill Flynn. You're right. I don't have Bill Flynn's.
Really?
I hope he's listening. Yes, sir.
Bill Flynn's probably listening.
I'm hoping he is.
Roger Neal may be listening, so yeah. I think you should get those signatures, those 3 missing signatures, to make your WNBF cookbook complete.
I got this. I'll be honest. I was doing work for a customer, and they were cleaning out their parents' house, and it happened to be in the pile. This was a decade ago. Just to say how long I've been listening.
Wow.
So this was, yeah.
Well, what I would recommend sometime that you drop it off here at the station with your name and phone number, and then I can work. Can't promise, but I don't see any reason why if you drop it off, I can't work to get those missing signatures in your cookbook. Might take a few days, but if you want a complete collection of signatures, in fact, you might be the only person in the world. A lot of people still have copies of the WNBF cookbook from back in the day, I think back in the 80s, but I can't imagine anybody has a single copy of the cookbook with signatures of everybody who was on the air at WNBF who provided recipes.
And I would appreciate, and I hope she's listening, is because she was the cook of the show, is Kathy White.
Well, she may be listening.
So
yeah.
I would appreciate her signature on this also.
All right. Well, I can work. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's doable. I can't say it's going to be really, really quick, but it shouldn't take too long. If you drop it off here at the station, I would put your name, phone number, and email address on the cover of the book, or put it in an envelope so we can make sure the book is safe, and then I can work to get those signatures.
So, yeah, there's your happy thought of the day.
That's a very happy thought. I really appreciate it. You know what? It's a possibility that I might take a few pictures of, say, like the signature. I do have a book. It might be in my office. I can't remember if it's in the newsroom still or if I brought it home. I do have one WNBF cookbook that has Bill Parker's signature just inside the cover, but has nobody else's signature. So I think you have a real, as they say, a real collector's item. And yeah, once you drop it off, and once I spend a few days catching up with Roger, Bill, and Kathy, we could complete your book, and then I'll contact you to make sure you get it back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You brightened up my day. That brightened up my day, thinking about all of the great people who were at WNBF at that time with the cookbook, that WNBF cookbook. A lot of people bought it. Well, that was a labor of love by Ann Parker and Bill Parker. They spent a lot of time and effort collecting recipes from listeners and also recipes from the people here on WNBF. And we had a lot of fun with that. A lot of people, even now, still use some of the recipes in that cookbook, including that brownie recipe. That's a really good recipe. It's 10:31 at News Radio, WNBF 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now. As we go back to the phones, Matt in Binghamton. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Bob. How are you today?
I am well.
I got a call from, I've been out of town the last couple of days, but I guess the day before that I called the show, and I thought you had abruptly hung up on me right in the middle of a sentence, and I used my Irish temper, thought I was talking to myself, and muttered something, and I'm sorry if the listeners heard that because it was, again, unintentional. I did that one other time, but I do have, and Irish people use the F word a lot.
Well, not just Irish people. Probably most of our listeners do. And I'll say it came over, but I also understood that you were under the impression that the call had been completed. People did hear it loud and clear in some cases, and we got some feedback, and some people were understandably disappointed. I'll be honest, too. I was disappointed. Nothing in terms of words, nothing bothers me, but we can all agree that that's not the type of thing that is fit for broadcast.
Oh, exactly, but I didn't think it was being broadcast.
Right.
Obviously.
So, and thank you for at least addressing that. And I
really thought that right in mid-sentence when we were, I remember what we were discussing, and you were saying that praising Donald Trump for not getting us some wars, and I was about ready to explain that some people feel that both in Ukraine and the Gaza war were in part because of decisions Trump made during his thing, and that we really are not at war, even though there's wars going on. The United States is not at war right now, and a lot of people seem to think we are, and we're not. We are not in any declared war, and we are supporting Ukraine, and we're dealing with Gaza, but we're not at war. So to say that Trump didn't get us any wars, neither did Biden. So,
no, I know, and my point was mostly the main point, the main thrust of my point the other day was some people were somewhat surprised that during Donald Trump's 4 years as president that more wars didn't get started. Now, I'm not saying he had a perfect record. No, it was less than perfect, and we've talked about that on the program. I think some people, when he was inaugurated, just thought, well, here we go. World Wars 3, 4, and 6 will be happening, and they didn't happen. But again, it was a messy world. The world is still messy anyway, and it's not necessarily because of a president's policies. First of all, U.S. policies over the decades, I think, have contributed to an overall climate that it's led to unintended consequences, and we're still dealing. If you look back over the last century, U.S. foreign policy and some of its military interventions have wound up, I think, sadly, causing more trouble than anybody thought. But you can't change history. And one of the things, and this was true when Donald Trump became president, and was true when Joe Biden became president. Whoever has the awesome responsibility starting January 20th, one of the most important things that he or she can do is to help improve our standing in the world and help improve the way we work with other nations, including those that have traditionally been our enemies. And I know that's easier said than done. Saying it in a radio studio in Binghamton is very simple, but actually making an improvement on some really bad situations, including situations that weren't really caused by the United States in the first place. Some cases, bad situations, I think, were exacerbated because of U.S. intervention. But ultimately, I think this nation's foreign policy needs to be adjusted we have more of an effort to move toward peace instead of being inclined to, when things get bad, typically move toward war.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that statement. And yeah, I'm not, everybody, if you go back in the history of warfare, there's been Republicans that got us in war and Democrats that got us in war. But lately, I think we are trying to stay out of having our own troops go to war, and both administrations. But then again, there's situations. Hopefully, we don't have to send our young men and women, but it's a tough world out there. But anyway, real quick on a couple things that were said today, if I can. If you look at the origins, one guy talking about Tom, I think from Susquehanna, about the Electoral College and how we need it. Again, if you go back and look at the reason it was formed, it was all about the three-fifths compromise, that there was about the same amount of people in the South and the North, but, a whole bunch of them were slaves and couldn't vote. So, in the South. So it was based on the three-fifths compromise, and they basically decided to, keep that, Electoral College in place because of everything that went on with the lesser, since only white people could vote and not even women could vote. They came up with this very antiquated system that allows people to get elected, even though they lose by millions and millions of votes. Now, you can argue that, but my thing is, if we had a direct election, then everybody would be forced to. You wouldn't have these, anybody who wanted to be in power and run the government would have to come more towards the middle, because otherwise they would have no chance of getting elected. Wouldn't that be a good thing? I mean, then we wouldn't have all this rancor. I think it would be an interesting. I think only good things could come out of the Electoral College being abolished. But the other thing is, if you look at the 2000 election, which was also brought up this morning, and that what's his name said it got settled properly by the Supreme Court. What they did was they stopped the counting of ballots that Florida was going to do, and the real reason Florida was lost, if you look at it, it's a great documentary called Unprecedented. Go watch it. It's Jeb Bush was the Secretary of State of Florida at the time, and he purged 19,000, just like what the Republicans are trying to do now. It was way before the playbook they have now, but they used it back then. They purged 19,000 voters of anybody's name who was close to anybody who was a prior had a felony conviction, and now they purged and if you remember that night, I remember because I was doing stuff in the studio with Fox 40, and basically they had called the race for Gore. And then Fox News came on and said, no, it's really close in Florida. We can't call it. And they knew something that the public didn't know. They knew what Jeb Bush had done. And they knew that when 19,000 people showed up at the polls, they were going to be turned away from voting. This was a race that came down to, 400, 300 hanging chads. If those 19,000 people had got to vote, they were overwhelmingly minorities and Hispanics. People they purged. That's why people, when they were doing their polling outside polling places and people standing in line, they called it for Gore, because he would have won if those votes weren't purged from the rolls. And these were, really, most of them were not felons. Some of them were, but most. By
the way, this brings up an interesting question. So now one of the candidates is a convicted felon. So will that candidate who is a convicted felon be allowed to vote in his home state? Have they changed the law so people who have 34 felony convictions now can vote?
Well, I don't know.
I think he can. By the way, personally, I think he should be able to vote, even with 34 felony convictions. Even if he had 68 felony convictions, I still think they should allow him to vote.
Yeah, only once, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, of course we stipulate. But, it's, to me, the way I look at it, if you're convicted of a crime, if you become a convicted felon, then justice should be served by potentially a period of incarceration, if that's appropriate, maybe a monetary fine. But I don't think taking away your privilege to vote is really appropriate.
He's not going to be sentenced till after.
Oh, yeah.
So he's not really.
Do you think, here's something, and I ponder this because I think there actually is a pretty good chance he's going to win in November, despite what some people on this station think. I think he might win. He might pull it off against all the odds. And I think, well, I don't know. I'll ask you because you're an impartial observer and you're an officer of the court. So do you think if he is sworn in as president on January 20th, do you think he would actually pardon himself?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think he would pardon? Do you think he really would follow through on his threat to pardon the people involved in January 6th?
He can't pardon himself for the New York case, but he can pardon.
Well, what could he do about New York then? I mean, because could Tish James intervene, or could somebody intervene in the New York case? So if he does wind up being elected on November 5th, which, hey, we don't know, but we should at least think of that possibility. If he does wind up winning fair and square, is there something Tish James could do to help him out?
Yeah, I don't expect that to happen, but
hey, we live in strange times. I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what if they heal their differences and at some point become friends?
Yeah,
it could happen. I don't know. I mean, things are so weird. I hate to use that word, but I think, Matthew, you would agree, things are so weird in this country, especially with some people, that you have to be prepared for any eventuality.
Yeah. The other thing, on the other, is under George W. Bush, former Alberto Gonzales, the former Attorney General, he's just announced this morning his support of Kamala Harris, and I wish people would read it because it's a really well-reasoned reason why he will do that. And also, it was brought up this morning that, we already know what Ronald Reagan said about the importance of immigration, but George Bush also said family values do not stop at the Rio Grande. And after 9/11, he actually went, when Donald Trump was doing these conspiracy theories about people cheering in New Jersey, George Bush was saying he went to mosques in Manhattan and all across the country, embracing the Muslim families, and knowing that, it wasn't them that were responsible for 9/11. So, so we really have lost a lot of ground as far as, and you can just look at the debate the other night and look at one person who is on the plane with him shortly after going to the 9/11 events. Go look up this person and what she stands for. Laura Loomer. She's one of Donald Trump's closest advisors right now. Apparently, she was on the plane with him going to the events surrounding 9/11 memorial, and she is. I mean, she went there and she believes that 9/11 and the 9/11 conspiracy theories. So this is the people he surrounds himself with, and it's a scary time. So I think that Kamala Harris did an amazing job of. And the earring thing is so laughable.
Oh, that's troubling to me that somebody would make that up. And it's also disturbing, and you may share this worldview too, or this opinion, because I know you really love dogs. This whole thing that he's making up about Springfield, I find really, really distasteful.
Oh, I know. It's just amazing. And
don't you think that there's some people even now preparing fake videos that they will put online to serve as purported evidence. And they'll say, oh, this is happening in Springfield, Ohio, when in fact it's just something that somebody staged for Twitter or Facebook. Don't you think somebody is even doing that now?
Well, we already know that the Trump campaign is exhorting, and they allowed make it look like Taylor Swift endorsed Donald Trump.
Oh, I saw that. But, I immediately, as soon as I saw that, I saw they posted that, but I immediately knew that was fake.
Right, you did, but other people might.
You think some people could be fooled by this stuff?
Well, look, there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, are still, I've been reading a lot about narcissistic people and how, and if they become in a powerful position and people follow them, it's much harder for the people who are following them to admit they're wrong because they are so wrapped up in that narcissistic adoration, and they've let themselves become that, and then they can't let it go because it shatters their whole belief system, so to speak. So that's why you have so many people in the face of what they see themselves or they don't see. I mean, if they've been showing clips of people walking out of Trump rallies because he's rambling on. They show him leaving in droves. They show pictures of the crowd, and he tried to say it's not happening. And then he also alluded to the fact that her crowds were fake, like he said, that they were photoshopped in. And then he said they were paid to come in. Well, we know that he did that. All the people that were surrounding the escalator on the first day of his campaign, they admitted they were paid to be there. So
right, there's no harm in that.
Well, the thing is, whether you agree there's harm or not, he usually projects things about other people that he himself is. He tries to say they are what he is, and it's just, I think that's another trend of narcissists who defray everything and make, everything that's said about them, they then throw it back on the other side. So that's where we're at. And
all right.
I really do think that, 300 and something thousand people, Swifties, went online to look at how to register to vote, and just since she announced. So if those 370 people, if I was running the campaign for Harris right now, I would go to the battleground states and I would do campaigns for Swiftie voters to get registered in the battleground states, because that's where it's going to matter. And by the way, she's from Pennsylvania, so it could really matter there.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We live in interesting times. Thank you. It's Matt from Binghamton, 1052 at News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. Oh, now they're going to be stacking firewood? Why would they be stacking firewood? Oh, I know, because it's going to be winter. I see. Okay. Just had to verify. It got to stack firewood because it's going to be a really cold winter. If you're ordering firewood, be sure to order at least 50% more so you have enough to get you through at least February. Here's the forecast from the National Weather Service. It is looking good for the next week or so. Sunny today, 82. Mainly clear tonight, 56. Some patchy fog early tomorrow morning. Otherwise sunny, 83. The weekend also looking lovely. Sunny on Saturday, 84. Sunny on Sunday, 83. This is a boring forecast. I wouldn't even think of going out onto the forecast deck when it's this boring. What's the point of even having the weather when you have 7 days that are almost all sunny? Right now, it's sunny and boring, 65 at WNBF, 18 Celsius. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Tom from Endwell.
Hey, Tom.
So I was just listening to your last caller. They talk about the name calling of conservative voters. Like, now we're narcissistic or whatever he said. Like, I mean, we're racist, we're homophobic, we're a cult. Like, I mean, really? Like, come on. That is the most intelligent thing that he can come up with as the old mayor, to call the people that don't see his side a cult, unintelligent. Like, are you kidding me? And, you know, for the whole food thing that Trump said, I agree that was a little wild. But the fact is, other cultures eat so many different things that we here in America find absolutely disgusting. And there's cultures that won't eat cows, that they worship the cows, but we eat cows. He's not far off. Just because they enter America, it's not going to change what their norm was.
Why would he even bring that up? That's not an election issue.
Because you have a lot of cultures here.
No, that was not an election issue. Do you think dogs and cats are going to be a decisive issue in the presidential election? Why would somebody bring that up? I mean, there may have been kids watching.
Bob, I already said that was definitely off the wall. Okay? I said that. I don't know how many more times you want me to say that. You know,
one more. Just say it one more time, and I'll let you go on.
It was off the wall.
All right, continue. Thank you.
You know, but Kamala Harris didn't answer any questions. The only thing she did answer is how much she's going to give more people free money. You know, and she sat there and said, I don't even know how many things, like a bloodbath if Trump don't win. Clearly, that was debunked 2 years ago. That was over the auto industry, you know? And then, like, just so many different things. They did fact check her. They should have. They should at least fact check her twice to let the people see, like, hey, we're doing it on both sides. They didn't. They didn't fact check her one time, you know? And she couldn't even answer the very first question. Are you better off today than you were when Trump was in office?
She could, but she deflected because she knew better. And she's not unique. We talked about this previously on the program. Anybody during a debate has a right, and some would say even an obligation, to deflect from a question that is not going to go well. So she knew right off the bat, if she just said to a direct question, are most Americans better off now than they were 4 years ago? Kamala Harris would have to say honestly, one word, no. But she's not going to gain votes from that, so of necessity, she had to deflect and answer the question or respond to the question. I mean, obviously, she didn't directly answer it. She responded to that question the only way she could. You have to deflect when the question is not going to help you with a direct answer.
Bob, she gave a song and dance.
I know, she had to. I just explained why. If she said no, she would have lost some votes.
So if you know that, you can't sit here and tell your viewers that.
You have to. No, that's the way it works in a debate. I appreciate your call. We'll be taking more calls coming right up. Don't touch that dial. If you haven't called yet, I invite you to call between now and noon on Binghamton Now here on WNBF. We're now joined by Everett DeMaurier, 33 Cecils, a novel that is going to be turned into a movie. And Everett joins us now from Dover, Delaware. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Great. I've been to Dover, I think, twice in my life, once for a NASCAR race, and then before that, a few decades ago, part of a high school band exchange program. Our Union Endicott marching band, the Tigers, spent some time in Dover, Delaware. We had a performance at the Dover High School, and we had some fun. Hey, I even went bowling at the Dover Air Force Base. So
I think we have those historical markers that say Bob Joseph was here. I think there's a couple spots in Dover that have those.
Yeah, including one at the Air Force Base that said he turned in an amazing performance. We've never seen anybody bowl that badly since these lanes were installed. And also, I have a good friend who was born in Dover, Delaware, or so he says. I'll have to check his birth certificate.
Yeah, I don't. We'll verify that.
As they say, trust but verify. Anyway, it wasn't that long ago. I had to look it up in my WNBF news archives when you actually were able to visit us here in the studio. It was a little over 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. You were here in the studio talking about your novel, 33 Cecils, which features some Binghamton locations, including the iconic Belmar Pub on the west side, and even an apartment building on Mather Street. You were actually back in town just less than 2 weeks ago for the what now I think is going to become a tradition, a 33 Cecils Day party. I guess it was the second 33 Cecils Day celebration at the Belmar Pub. Tell me how that went.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I think how it started was 3 years ago on September 1st. I was here in Dover, and Jennifer, who runs the Belmar, texted me and she said, "Happy 33 Cecils Day." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And then she told me that there was a gentleman that drove, I think he came from Albany, and drove to be at the Belmar on that day. We didn't remember that September 1st was the day in the novel that the characters died, but he wanted to be at the Belmar on that day. The novel meant so much to him that he wanted to be there and connect with it. And we were just so moved by that. The publisher was so moved, and the Belmar, that the following year we put together a 33 Cecils Day, just a celebration of story and of the people that the novel connected. And then we continued it again this year. And this year we expanded it a little bit. We did a book signing at Barnes and Noble before, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up, and then we did the event at the Belmar, and your mayor was there. Mayor Cram was there, and he read this incredible proclamation making September 1st officially 33 Cecils Day.
Well, sadly, I missed it. I had been on vacation for that week. You contacted me, I think, several days before the celebration. Unfortunately, I was away just before the Labor Day weekend, or else I would have had you on the program and probably stopped by the Belmar. So I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, you were missed.
So tell me about the saga now of trying to see your novel turned into a movie. Obviously, this is something that you're excited about, and I know people here in Binghamton are looking forward to this. It's as you've learned, it's a slow process. It's not something that happens overnight. This has been moving forward gradually now over the last few years.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard. I mean, there's regular time and there's movie time, and I can't really comment on what the normal path is because this is the only one that I've actively been involved in it. But it's the path with this one was there was a gentleman that loved the book, that was a producer that just embraced it and really wanted to make the right film, not just a film, but the right film. And he kept using the phrase, a beautiful film is going to be a beautiful film. Well, the thing with him was he just wanted everything to be the right way. He wanted to get the right director and the right people and and however long it took, he was determined to make the right film. And I admit there were times over the last many, many years that I wanted to say, look, just push the button and let's make a film. Let's just make a film and move on. There's a lot of people that are counting on this, but he really had the vision of what he wanted, and I'm so grateful for that. We've been working with Matthew Modine for a while. We haven't had the ability to share that, but Matthew, he's going to direct it, and he's also going to play one of the lead roles. And he has a very specific vision of what he wants. He came to Binghamton. I traveled with him for a few days. we did a lot of location scouting, and we found some incredible locations there that can not only, fit the actual places that are in the novel, like the Belmar and Mather Street, but we can shoot a lot of the eerie scenes, in the areas around there as well. So, it's been official for the last few weeks. Brian sent me a photo the other day. They had a dinner in L.A. and it was Brian, it was Matthew Modine, and it was another gentleman, and they're all have 3 fingers up for 33 Cecil. So it's pretty official. They'll be shooting, I believe, next year, and then it will come out in 26.
Can anything be shot in Binghamton?
I believe most of it will be shot in Binghamton.
Okay. Well, I wasn't positive. I would hope that every once in a while, and it happens infrequently, but occasionally, something does get shot in Binghamton. For me, most notably was the movie Liebesdram. Many years ago, decades ago, they shot that. It was never a big hit movie, but it was fascinating to see the production when they were shooting many scenes in Binghamton and around our area. And also a few of the scenes from the Mark Lawrence movie, The Rewrite, which was released about a decade ago. A few of those scenes were shot in the Binghamton area, not many. But for me, as someone who was born here, it's always nice to see some parts of Binghamton featured on the big screen.
Yeah, and that was really important to me. I really wanted at least, part of it to be shot there, the Belmar, that sort of thing. And when we were working on, I remember a few years ago, getting a text from Brian, and he was, putting everything together that we had sent him, and we sent him, information on the tax benefits of Broome County and shooting there and doing everything. And I'll remember, he texted me back and he said, it doesn't make sense to film it anywhere else. And so that was a big win for us, because it was really important for me to bring it back to Binghamton. Ironically, one thing that's really funny is there's a Bricklin car in the novel. It's one of the characters finds this old Bricklin, and it's very important to the plot. Well, ironically, the only Bricklin dealership in the entire United States is in Buffalo, New York. So that was just another little kismet-y kind of cosmic favor that was dealt down to us.
Well, it's the whole thing is intriguing to me, and I'm glad that we're able to at least give our listeners a status report. Sorry I was not able to visit the Belmar for this year's 33 Cecil's Day, but I'll put it on my calendar for 2025, and hopefully I'll be able to stop by. And I love the place. I love the atmosphere, and just the fact that the Belmar and that neighborhood had this kind of left this kind of impression on you. So you were able to include those areas of our city in your novel. I think it's impressive. I'm excited. I'm excited for you that this is something that still is moving forward, and I trust you'll keep us updated as any new developments happen on the movie project.
Yeah, and now that it's official, and now that they've taken the cork out of the bottle, we can share a lot more. What's so hard about things like this is so much happens, and you can't share it. You can't celebrate it. But now that it's everything's official, they'll be announcing to the trades soon, so we can share a lot more, and that'll be a lot more exciting.
Everett DeMaurier, the author of 33 Cecils, joining us live from Dover, Delaware. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
11:21. Listening to Binghamton Now on News Radio, WNBF 607-772-1290 is the number. If you have some thoughts about the issues, go ahead, call in. Let's talk about the issues, Binghamton and beyond, here at News Radio, WNBF. Let's go back to the phone, see if we could squeeze another call in before noon. Martin in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Hey, thank you, Bob. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. I watched the debate, and then she clearly just owned him. And he would never make any eye contact, especially when she attacked him and saying other people were laughing at him. But in general, throughout the rest of the debate, he would never make eye contact. He would never look back at her. He'd just keep his head down, looking very dour and stuff. But I have some points I'd like to make here real quick about about his lies. He says that about the abortion and Roe versus Wade, that everybody wanted it, and that was certainly a lie. And she had a great rebuttal talking about how a woman going to the emergency room and having a miscarriage, and people are afraid to work on her, and because of maybe getting arrested, and then she's got to go bleed out in the parking lot. That's part A of part that. But the other part is no exception for rape. You want a 12, 13-year-old girl to carry some scumbag's baby to fruition, and that's child abuse. That is just, they care about kids. That's just freaking child abuse. And he kept pivoting back and forth. Whatever the question was, he would go back to immigration and just talk about how the country's going to hell and everything. And when asked by David Muir that he said he was going to deport 9 million people, and they asked him, "You have any specifics on that? What's your plan?" And he went off on a tangent. Never addressed that.
But don't you think? I mean, in fairness to him, let's not knock a man while he's down. Don't you think he did the best he could?
Who, Trump?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. He was in a totally different situation than he faced in June. So here he is facing a woman, clearly, who has more energy. She was a high-energy Democratic candidate, completely different than the person he faced on CNN in late June. So don't you think that may have made him a bit nervous? And so he was in a situation where he's trying to really adjust to a situation he's never dealt with before.
Yes, well, it's literally a fight. It's a fight for democracy.
Well, of course it is. And he's fighting for his position, and she was fighting for her position. It just seems to me maybe he was just uncomfortable facing such a high-energy opponent.
Well, yeah, to use a boxing analogy, he was on his heels. He was backed up all the time. He was just constantly taking jabs.
And maybe it scared him, because a lot of times he would say something and she would smile at him, or kind of. I think during some of the segments when he was giving his response, when you looked on the split screen, she didn't have to say anything, but I think her expressions actually communicated a lot. I think in some of the moments of the debate when she didn't say a thing, I think the look on her face spoke volumes.
Yes, her body language and I was watching it after a while. When she got a zinger in, he would just pucker up his lips. He would just put his head down.
It was almost as though he wanted to say something, but he knew it would be for naught because his mic was muted.
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine how different that debate would have been, Martin, if they had not agreed to have the mics muted? If the mics were live during the whole thing, some of the things he would have said while she was speaking?
They still gave him a lot of room. He would still go on, and they were going to say this is a 1 to 2 minute thing, and he would just come back. Oh, can I talk about that? Then he would just go off again, and I'm yelling at the TV station, "Don't stop that guy!" I mean,
well, he can't be stopped.
Yeah, well.
Except at the voting booth. But on TV, look, he's a trained media professional. He's been on TV for decades. He had the edge in this because he's comfortable in a TV studio. Remember, for years he had the show called You're Fired, and so he's very comfortable under the hot TV lights. So he had the advantage there. Not only had he been in several other presidential debates, but he's very, very comfortable in a TV studio, whereas Kamala Harris, she might be comfortable prosecuting crooks in a courtroom, but she's very rarely been under the harsh lights of a TV studio.
But she wounded him early on. And the last thing is, a very big one, is asking about the ACA, Affordable Care Act, and asked, okay, what do you have? You know, you've had 8 years. You're going to replace that. What do you have? Nothing. I have concepts. I have concepts of a plan, but I don't have a plan, you know, and there you go. I mean, that's about caring about us. That's about, you know, our insurance, our health. What's more important than your health? Health is everything, man, you know, and they had nothing. He had nothing. He had plenty of time to come up with a plan.
Well, do you think he should agree to another debate?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Well, I think maybe he just had a bad night. Maybe it was an off night.
Well, you know what? That will make for a better TV next time.
I'm looking forward to it. I am cautiously optimistic. I know he's been sort of hinting that he doesn't want to do another debate. I personally believe, and this is in part because I think I know something about this man's ego, I bet his ego will make him decide to do another debate because his ego will suggest to him the second time that somehow he's going to trounce her, that somehow the second debate will be even better for him. So I bet he'll eventually agree to a debate.
Yes, and there's no other way out. There's no other way out.
All right.
I mean, he can talk all he wants and everything else like that. But can I say real quick, today's paper, study, Trump fans more likely to back violence.
Is that true?
On page 4A. Yeah,
on the paper? Yeah, I don't get the paper. So I couldn't tell you.
I'm still paying $35 a month plus a tip.
Are they going to raise the price for you?
No.
Oh, you're lucky. I got a thing because they said they were going to lower the price for me. They were going to give me a promotional deal. So I was looking forward to my newspaper bill. And when it came, instead of lowering my newspaper bill for a promotional thing because they love me, instead they raised it $12 a month.
Yeah.
What's that?
What are you paying?
They wanted to charge me $52 for it. No, $57. They wanted to charge $57 for a month of their paper when they said they were going to charge me $15.
They mentioned that to me too, and they said, "Well, we'll give you $35 because I've been with them forever." You know,
I thought they would give me a discount because I've been reading the paper for several decades. I thought after spending thousands of dollars to support their newspaper that they would carry through on their pledge to give me a discount.
Plus, yes, because you're a reporter and you're backing them. I mean,
I support local journalism. I probably am the biggest supporter of local newspapers in the world. And then they reneged. They said it was going to be $15, and then when I got my bill, instead of $15, it said $57.
Oh, well, I would fight that because
I didn't have any fight left in me. I did the only thing I knew that I could do. I had to pull the plug.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still in mourning, Martin. I'm still in the first few days of my life since even before kindergarten doing without my hometown paper. I'm inconsolable.
I know. I can imagine. I mean, I go out and pick mine up, and it's like I had on my home right here, I had a paper here for 1967, 68, 69, and that was great having it here.
I delivered the paper myself for about 3 years in Endicott. I've got ink running in my blood, even though I never really worked for the paper except to deliver it. I mean, I'm just heartbroken.
The big Wednesday night was big.
Yes, it was big. It was big. It was bold. It was bulky. It was filled with advertising, and I never complained.
No, but it was a good thing as a teenager to have that money.
It was great. You know? I loved it. I love that newspaper.
Yeah. But real quick, back to the story. Trump fans more likely to back violence. 1 in 3 Republicans with a favorable view of President Donald Trump say political violence is acceptable. 1 in 3. And the study found that 67% of Republicans scored high on an authoritarian scale, including 75% of Trumpers. So they don't care about democracy. Let this guy come in and let him go after his enemies, let him go after comedians, possibly reporters. I mean, there is no bottom with these people. I mean, it's really scary. So, but thank you for the time and everything. But yeah, Bob, this is in the paper, and I would be jonesing myself. I mean, I'm thinking of that day too. But I'm just so for 50 some years, and I'll never. Especially when I got my draft card.
I learned to read with that newspaper.
Yeah, I remember grabbing a newspaper, coming and putting it on the living room floor, and going up and down the numbers, looking to see what my birthday was for the draft.
Yeah.
They took the first 90, and once I got past 90, it's like, oh man, all right. And I'm not being unpatriotic, but come on, it's 1971, and thousands, 45, 50,000 people dead, and you know what time it was in the nation like that. So, but anyway, that's one of the classic memories I have of the paper.
It was a great paper. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day, everybody.
11:35 at WNBF and WNBF.com. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. Vinny from Binghamton. I wanted to talk about something in that debate that Donald Trump was talking about, which is interesting. And I wanted to talk about how this goes both ways. He was talking about firing people. And he was talking about Joe Biden and his administration and how he doesn't fire anybody. He goes, I fired this person, I fired that person. Well, you got to remember something. And this goes also to the person who called earlier, talked about corporations. There's a word in corporate world, it's called attrition. How many people you blow through. And a lot of times there's something wrong. Because, you ask Donald Trump, didn't you interview these people? Didn't you hire these people? Didn't you vet these people? Why are you going so many? Or is it your character that you can't judge anybody? That you're awful when it comes to seeing people, can they get the job done? That's the first thing. And by his attrition rate, I looked this up. I think it's a booking institution. And I looked up from Reagan all the way to Trump. He had the worst first year turnover rate, 35%. The next closest was Reagan with 17%. His second year, he was number 2 with 31%. These people are just blowing through his administration, Bob, just blowing through. But he's the one doing the interviews. He's the one doing the hiring. And he wants to brag about firing people that you never should have got in here to begin with. Where's your judgment? And what you saw last night was, the other night when that debate, that's exactly what it is. And this is what all these people that are coming out that worked for his administration have been trying to tell you. They've been trying to tell you. I think I saw somebody, Olivia Troy. Yeah, that was Mike Pence's former advisor. She said on TV, do you see America? He was worse behind the scenes. He didn't listen to anybody. We tried to give him advice. He thinks he's the smartest person in Washington. Chris Christie said it when I was the one who debated him, got him ready for Hillary Clinton. It was like a wrestling match. He wouldn't listen. He wouldn't stay focused. And that's what this guy is not set for another term. And Trumpers, I got to tell you, this is not 2016 Donald Trump anymore. I just want to let you know. That was many, many, many years ago. This isn't the same guy. And I think he had a caller. It might have been Dave from Vestal who said a couple weeks ago that the Democrats, you could put a goat up there and they'd vote for it. Well, you know what you got? You got that goat, Dave. You guys are the ones that have the goat. And
yeah, I wonder
think
if anybody in Vestal is eating goats.
Yeah. You know, and it's just everything, and it's so funny. They try to say everything they do bad, they accuse the Democrats of doing it. And, Bob, what is with these Trumpers and this whining?
It's very weird. All this whining, it just strikes me as so weird. It didn't used to be something that was done, and now it happens almost on a daily, if not hourly basis. More whining more often.
You see it on a national level. Here they are blaming the moderators. Oh, well, you know, I don't... you got to be kidding me. Donald Trump was to interject and interfere with her I don't know how many times. But you don't see any... The Democrats, the moderation was... they were terrible. You don't see us. And I even hear it on this program. The Trumpers are the only ones that get on the host. They try to tell the host who his political affiliation is. This is the one who hangs up on, accuses the host. This is the same thing at the national level as I hear it on this program. And everybody hears it. You guys do the same dribble. I told my friend last night, because Dave from Vestal called in and talked about that thing with the earrings. And I go, listen, I'm going to text you. I promise you. I said, I promise you, one of those Trumpers are going to call in Thursday morning and they're going to say this. And I said, as soon as I hear it, I'm going to text you. Boom. There you go. Thanks, Dave. Right on time, buddy. Right on time.
But it wouldn't be a show without that.
What's that, Bob?
It wouldn't be a show without it.
Well, you know, it's kind of like Donald Trump. You know, I don't judge this guy on a curve anymore. Straight up. We're talking about the President of the United States.
Well, you tell me that you're judging Donald Trump now, taking him at face value?
No, I never did.
I mean, what he says, you're not judging him on a curve?
No. I mean, I'm just sick of, no, I mean, there's the excuses, Bob. Well, you know, that's how he is.
Well, it is how he is. Cut him a break. Yeah, we acknowledge he's not Mr. Perfect, but give him a little slack, man.
But, I mean, we're not talking about the manager of an ice cream store. We're talking about the President of the United States.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I had an ice cream store, say on Route 26 in Vestal, I wouldn't put him in charge.
Well, exactly. And so why should we do that there? You don't get breaks.
Well, he might be better in the White House. I wouldn't want... Here's another thing. And I've mentioned this to people. I don't think I've ever said it on the air. But, he may have other talents, but would I want him to manage this radio station where I work? No.
Yeah.
But would I be comfortable with Kamala Harris managing this radio station where I work? Yes. Yep. Even though she has no background in radio, I still, if I had to choose between the two, who would I choose to manage this fine radio station that's been part of the community for nearly a century? You know who I would choose, and it would not be Mr. Trump.
Yeah. And you know what? Was one thing that was kind of, I liked what she said. She goes, as I travel around this country, she goes, and I meet these people, whether they're Democrat or Republican, what I always say to them are you okay? And
see, I think she actually cares about people.
Oh, God, yeah, Bob. And she's seen it. When she was up there debating him the other night, she goes, I've had gang leaders out there in California. All the criminals that come into California, and we're right there on the border. Man, I know what's going on the border. And like I said before, that question was asked about that border that the Senate had, that big, one of the most aggressive border bills in decades. And it passed the Senate. Chuck Schumer was dragging those Democrats. Listen, let's get this thing done. It was a Republican bill. And Donald Trump called all those congressmen and told them, don't vote on it. So good old Moses, there, the Speaker of the House, Johnson, wouldn't even let it come to the floor. And you Trumpers keep calling this program talking about borders, and this thing is right under your nose, and you don't want to talk about it. You don't even know what's in it. Talk about the walls and all this kind of stuff. This thing had more than walls. And whatchamacallit was there. She talked about it. She goes, that bill came, and you were around here calling congressmen. You weren't even the president. You were calling congressmen to kill it because it would make the Democrats look good. So that's why I want another debate, because I want her to bring that up.
All right. Well, I think there will be another debate. And again, I think his ego, even though at first blush he was indicating or suggesting or whining that there wouldn't be another debate because he did so well, I think his ego will require him to accept a second debate. And I'll be watching. I'm Bob Joseph. More calls coming up, 607-772-1290. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF.